My name is Just a Fan, and I'm here today to talk about some movie, but nobody knows what that movie is going to be yet. That's because this is part 2 in a set of videos where I got this new camera, new equipment to go along with it, and rather than picking something very specific to review with it, I just said, hey, let's just write down some movies I've seen a million times, some movies I love so much that I would recommend to anybody, and pick them out from a hat. So the first one we did was Men in Black. Is that right side up? Good. Men in Black. And then today we're going to pick from the rest of the movies that were choices on there. And if you want to see what the whole list was in the original video, feel free to go to that video. I'll put it in the video description. And then I'll also put the list of the movies in this video description as well, just what they were. And so don't forget, the movies are all ones I've seen a million times. They're all ones I recommend. And they're also ones that I don't really see people talking about much. I watch a few different movie reviewers and I read about some from some people, but even my favorites don't really mention these movies. Like Men in Black, I have not seen a review of Men in Black by any of my favorite movie reviewers. I'm not saying that nobody has ever reviewed it and nobody ever does, but at least of my favorites and the ones I like to watch, nobody's done it yet. So to me, I'm the first. It's perfect. Now here we go. I got this awesome Back to the Future hat here, and we're going to use that to pick another movie here. So we're going mix around, mix around, mix around. I'm not even going to look at it because you guys are going to see it first. All right, here we go. So our movie today is whatever this says, and hopefully it's not upside down. In that case, I'll do this. All right, what do we got? Oh, The Faculty. I like this movie a lot. The Faculty, like a staff of the staff of a school, staff of a building, that type of thing. The Faculty. This is a fun movie from 1998. Actually, this is 3 years before Lord of the Rings, and you'll notice right off the bat that this has a pretty interesting cast, and Elijah Wood is like the main character of this movie. So you get to see Frodo before he was Frodo. It's really awesome. So what's going to happen here now is I'm going to talk about the movie for a little bit without spoilers, and then that way, hopefully, if you haven't seen the movie, you'll say, yeah, I want to see this movie now, especially this one with the cast. And then if you have seen the movie after, at some point, I'll say, all right, now spoilers are fair game. And so if you haven't seen it, turn off the review at that point. And if you have seen it, just keep on watching. So here we go. Non-spoiler recommendation review for The Faculty. And you know what? For this one, I'm not going to use the DVD case to talk about. Usually I would look at that and talk about the cast and stuff. But the DVD case does not do the cast of this movie justice. So I'm going to go to IMDb on my phone here and find the cast, because it's quite amazing who is in this movie and what they do. So 1998, The Faculty. By the way, this is a horror movie, sort of. It's like a basic, not super intense, scary movie. I mean, it's got a couple jumpy, scary types of things, and there's suspense, and it's kind of like, you ever see Animorphs? It's kind of like the Animorphs, but without morphing and without animals, if that makes any sense at all. Because pretty much the premise here is that aliens are taking over the school, kind of like an Animorphs, and they do this by getting into your brain and controlling your actions. You don't know who you are anymore, and you're completely and utterly controlled. They used to call them controllers on the Animorphs, so it's sort of like that, right? Also in this movie, they make a direct reference to Invasion of the Body Snatchers a couple times. So kind of like that too. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Animorphs. Just again, no animals, no morphing. Check out this cast. So Jordana Brewster, popular lady right there. Clea Duvall, also a popular lady. Couple people that I've never heard of outside of this, but I'm sure a couple of them are known. How about this? Salma Hayek. She's the nurse in the school. Here's a name people probably can't pronounce that well, but I'm going to use my German skills to get it. Famke Janssen. That's what she'd be in German. And I think she's German or Dutch or something. Let's keep going though. Oh, remember that movie Jumanji? Not the new one, the original. That movie Jumanji from 1984, 86. There's BB, also looks German, BB Neuwirth, or Neuwirth, they probably say in English. She's the principal of the school. So you got that. Robert Patrick is the coach at the school. Check out these two. Usher Raymond is in the school. John Stewart is like the biology teacher. Look at this cast. This is awesome. So the guy who played, if you've seen Malcolm in the Middle, one of the best shows ever. If you've seen Malcolm in the Middle, the guy who plays Commandant Spangler is like a history teacher in here, or English maybe or something. And then of course Elijah Wood. I mean, the list just goes on of all these really popular, fun names. So if that doesn't entice you to see the movie alone, I'll talk about its good qualities right now to hopefully make you be like, man, I need to see this now. It's rated R for a lot of language and for a little bit of horror violence stuff, and also for like almost nudity, but not nudity near the end. So it's maybe not like the best family flick out there, but it is a pretty good, like, I want to watch a horror movie but not be completely horrified like in Saw. If you watch Saw, it can be pretty horrifying and scarring, but this one's a nice little, let's get scared a little bit, let's watch these good characters interact together and deal with this problem, and then, you know, that's all. It's not that bad. It's not going to leave any scarring, horrible, I don't think, any scarring, horrible thoughts in your brain after you're done seeing it. So why is this movie so good, even aside from this awesome setup of actors? It's just a nice little movie that just kind of puts you right in this spot. It's in Ohio. It's like Harrington, Ohio, or at least Harrington's a school. It's like Harrington High School or something. I don't know if it's a real town, but it's a school where like it's kind of like a. They kind of portray the school as like this place where there's bullies there, there's jerk people there, there's a couple, you know, normal people. It's just very diverse. You have like, you know, the cheerleader girls, you have like the sports guys, you have like the yearbook kids who are like, you know, taking pictures and this and that. That's what Elijah Wood's character kind of is. And then you have, you know, Usher Raymond is just there. He's one of the football guys. I guess it's very interesting having this very diverse school of all these kind of stereotypes, but it's fair. You know, you got the couple. They show this a couple times. They have the couple. They show this couple who are like fighting a lot, and they just, you know, that's their thing. They're in a relationship, but they fight all the time, and they're kind of like on the sideline characters. They just kind of walk past the camera, but it's just kind of there. It gives it some personality. So they do a good job setting up this school, and they do a good job setting up this like interesting staff at the school, again, the faculty, where you just have this like interesting cast of characters playing this like totally interesting cast of teachers at this school and principal, that type of thing. Neuwirth, whatever she is, really. She's the principal, and so she's kind of like trying to do her job. There's the coach, who's Robert Patrick, and he's trying to, you know, just be a coach and do his thing. It's so much fun. For whatever reason, the setup here is great, and the setting they have it in, it's like, you know, late 90s high school. It actually almost seems to be earlier than late 90s. Like, it could be, like, early 90s, just for when the movie's set, even though it came out in the late 90s. There's no cell phones, which is a great blessing for this movie. Thank the Lord that it's old enough where cell phones weren't a thing in the movie, because it could have gotten so dumb. So what happens is, Elijah Wood, he's kind of one of the six main characters. What they do in this movie is they kind of establish who the six main students we're going to follow around are. And it's cool because at first they're kind of on their own, individually doing their own thing. There's a couple interactions between them, but then eventually they kind of have to band together, these six characters, and overcome the problem, or try to figure out how to overcome the problem, which is aliens are taking over a freaking school. So it's really cool how they kind of set it up very scattered around. You're kind of like, okay, there's that person, and how does this matter? But then by the end, you're like, oh, of course, it's like exactly how you're supposed to do it. So it's pretty good in that sense of setting up who the characters are. We know they're all very different. We have Elijah Wood's name is Casey in the movie. I don't know if he has a last name, if they have last names in the movie, but he's Casey. He's kind of like, he gets beat up on. They establish that really early. Some bullies, you know, beat up on him and do this to him and make fun of him and kind of thing. And so while he's on the ground, after someone like elbows him in the nose, Clea Duvall's character walks by. Her name's Stokely, which is an interesting name. And she's like, crash and burn, Casey. She's kind of like emo gothic, and she sort of makes fun of his character, but they like clearly know each other, and she's like kind of mean to him, but you know, it's like they just known each other for a long time type of thing. You got Stan. What is Stan's act? I don't know who Stan's actor's name is, but Stan is this guy who's dating this other actress, dating a character. That's the character played by Jordana Brewster. So Stan and Jordana Brewster's character, Delilah, are like dating, and she's like the cheerleader girl, and he's like the football star guy, so it's like kind of stereotypical there. And your fifth character is Mary Beth. She says her name like so specifically. It's like Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson. And she's a new girl. She's kind of like this like really nice new girl who comes from the South somewhere. And it's her first day, and she has like no idea what's going on. And you have all these crazy people everywhere. Like when she's asking for directions how to get to the office, there's these two girls who I think are smoking, and they have like a lot of piercings and tattoos. And she's just like, "Hey, it's my first day. Where's the office?" And they like don't care about anything so much. They just kind of like point behind them, and that's it. It's like this, it's just this awesome dichotomy of here's this nice girl trying to be really friendly, and these people who just hate everything. They're kind of, I guess you can call them also emo or gothic or something. I hate labels like that. And the last character is this guy Zeke, who I forgot about this other actor who's in the movie, Zeke, who you kind of get introduced to him because he just kind of does what he wants. He's like the guy, he's repeating his senior year at this high school, and he the first thing you see him doing, other than driving to school really fast and parking, he's like taking up 3 parking spots because he just doesn't care about anything. And he's like in the bathroom selling fake IDs to hide from that 70s show. So you got that guy too. He's a minor character, but still you got Hyde from that 70s show buying a fake ID from Zeke. And then there's some other guy too. And he's like, I don't know, this thing's gonna work. And so Zeke's like, oh, I'll give you a couple of these. And he has this like homemade drug he makes. It's like, we don't find out for a while like what it's made from, but it's like a homemade drug, and he just kind of puts it, I don't have a pen around here, he puts it like in a pen, and I don't have any pens, and you just kind of like snort it up your nose, so it's a little cocaine-y kind of thing. It's just like homemade though, and he's selling them that too. So this guy makes a lot of money selling his homemade drug and fake IDs. He's kind of like the I break the rules guy, and I don't care about anything, and I'm repeating my senior year, and who cares about that? So it's just awesome. That's just the main characters right there. It seems like a lot, but the way they do it, they have a pretty good way of establishing who is who, what's their personality, how do they kind of know each other a little bit, and eventually when they come together, they don't need to worry too much about, well, who are these people? It's like, oh yeah, there's that guy, and oh, that's what they did. Okay, sure, yeah. So it's pretty good setup right there. So you get this cool thing at the beginning of the movie where you set up your characters and you get to see them in the daily lives at the school. Like it very well, even though the viewer's thrown right into this movie, you get a pretty good idea of what's normal, what's not normal, and why the characters are reacting to things the way they are. Like, for example, the coach, who's played by Robert Patrick, like the school coach or whatever, gym teacher kind of thing, at the beginning, they show him, like, totally insane. Like, he's yelling at his football team during practice and calling them complete failures, and you're gonna lose, and just, you guys are horrible, and he's, like, freaking out. And then we see something happen to him, like, almost, we don't really see, it's not a spoiler, really, too much, but it's kind of like this, oh, he's changed. And so the staff starts noticing it, and the students eventually start noticing how he becomes this like quiet, more collected, kind of calm guy, and it's like out of character and really weird. So you get these characters who are like, man, things are getting kind of weird around here. Like, I don't know what's going on. And it's cool because we as a viewer, we know a lot more of what's going on. Not a lot, but we know aliens are freaking taking over the school and controlling the minds of the principal and the staff and stuff like that. So we know more than they do, and it makes a fun little, act one of the movie where it's just like, how is this going to play out? Like, who's going to find out what, and who really is under control, too? It's just like Animorphs. It's like, who is a person being controlled by the aliens, and who's not a person being controlled by the aliens. So that's really fun. It's really cool. Watching the personality shifts, like with the coach, it's a fun little way to, and good acting, too. It's a fun little way to see how these characters get portrayed in terms of here they were here, but now that they're controlled by aliens, here they are now. And so, like, what does that mean to everybody else who's interacting with them? Is it, like, strikingly weird and like, whoa, like, wait, you're not like that? Or is it like, do they just succumb to the evils of these aliens? It's great stuff. And the acting, I didn't really mention that yet. I said there's a lot of good actors, but the acting is darn good, and I'll get to more of that in the spoiler section. I love this one scene with Robert Patrick, the way he does the character of the coach being under control by the aliens. It's just so awesome what he does, and it's like, dang, what a like way to like be creepy and weird for this horror movie, but not even have to try that hard to make it so super creepy and crazy. So it's pretty well made, pretty good stuff. Is there anything else? Non-spoiler. It's just good. Again, watching the 6 main characters. These are students, by the way. There's plenty of characters. I mean, you saw me read that list off. But watching the 6 characters of students trying to kind of band together, it's really fun. That kind of happens halfway-ish through the movie, or not even 3/4, 2/3-ish of a way through the movie. And so, like, they got the last act of the movie to figure it out and overcome things. More good acting over there. It's just great. This movie is a lot of fun. Does it have any flaws? That's a good question. It's not a perfect movie. There's a couple things where it's like, oh, that's weird, or it's more of a spoiler thing for one kind of flaw or plot hole I can think of. And it's not. It's kind of minor. It's just like a why are they doing this when that doesn't really make any sense. But it's not perfect. It's not like masterful work, and it's absolutely incredible. It's an alien movie with aliens type of thing, so I guess I could say that the visuals when it comes to special effects or puppetry or animatronics or whatever the heck they would use, it seems pretty good. It's a late 90s movie, 1998, so we didn't have, like, the super crappy, like, dumb, fake CG stuff we see now. And it wasn't, like, back in, like, 1984, remember Ghostbusters, when you had, remember Who Brought the Dog? And it's, like, is that Zool or Vince Clortho? I guess it's Vince Clortho, who's, like, the dog monster thing running around in Louis Tully's apartment. And it's, like, super fake and horrible, that kind of thing. So, that's a great movie, but the CG, it just wasn't there yet. And that's fine. I hate it when people are like, oh, it's got dumb graphics, so it's a bad movie. Like, that's, like, not even the point at all. But here, it looks fine. They don't even need to overdo a lot of the stuff they do with the CG and the puppetry and the whatever animatronic things. They don't need to overdo it in this movie, and it plays out pretty well. So I'm okay with how it looks. It's, again, not like absolutely masterpiece. This movie it should get so much more credit than it does, but it's pretty solid for what it tries to do and how it tries to do it and the actors it has in the movie portraying the roles. It's a good, solid movie, and I just never see people talking about it. Pretty much this whole list of movies that I'm doing for this segment of videos, it's kind of like no one talks about The Faculty, or I've never seen anyone talk about The Faculty, so let's give it some credit for like what it is, and I guess I should do spoilers now. I just feel like I should have said so much more. Not every single question gets answered that you could ask while watching the movie, but who cares about that? So definitely see the movie, if this is still the non-spoiler section, and I'm about to end it. But if you haven't seen it, I would say try watching it with like a person or like a group of friends or something. It's a good social movie where you guys can be like, oh, hey, I think he's going to be the alien, or he's not going to be an alien, or oh, clearly he's an alien, or whatever. It can be fun in that way. And also when you don't know what's going on, like, completely, it's a cool thing where when the twists do happen, it's like, whoa, like, I didn't see that coming, and someone else might say, I saw that coming. Remember when this happened? It's like, oh, yeah. So you can get some cool little things like that going on when you see it for the first time. It's definitely worth a watch. I think it was on Netflix last time I looked. The last time I looked, it was like 2 years. I have the DVD, so I don't need it. It was a long time ago when I looked, but hopefully it's available to anybody who wants it. I think that's going to be everything for the non-spoiler section. So here we go with spoilers now. Don't watch the rest of this until you've seen the movie, unless you want to completely ruin it for yourself. And this isn't really one you want to ruin. When you have, they start talking about alien queens in the movie, this is one where you want to have some more mystery going in, because it's like, I know who this is, and this person, I know that about that person. It's like, well, movie ruined now. So be careful on spoiling this one for yourself, but I'm going to start doing spoilers right now. Spoiler time! Alright, The Faculty. Let's see what I can say. Don't forget, by the way, that I just pull these movies out of a hat, so I have no idea what I'm going to say by the time these videos start. It's cool. I mean, the queen, right? Alien queen. We know, because we've seen the movie now, because we're not spoiling it for ourselves. We know the queen alien thing is Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson, and I think that's a pretty cool twist to have. I think it works for what the movie is. It makes me think of that movie, the Nostalgia Critic. He's another awesome movie reviewer. I watch his stuff all the time, and he reviews the movie Devil, and he points out how in that Devil, the one with the devil in the elevator or something, and he points out how if the devil is like, the old woman who's been dead in the elevator forever, how is that a good twist? Like, that's dumb. Just because it's like, oh, you didn't see it coming, it's a cool twist, but it's like, it doesn't work, because I think what he says is we were never made privy that this is possible, so you can't just call that a good twist. I think in this one, having, like, one of your 6 main characters, and, the super nice girl from the South ends up being the alien queen the whole time, I think that's a fair twist in what they do, especially because they even do go back to that scene where they're having to prove that they're human. They're taking Zeke's, cocaine drug thing with the pens, and they're taking that to kind of show that, yeah, it's not drawing my face out, I'm not disintegrating on the spot, so I'm clearly human. And they show how, Delilah, she was also under the control of the aliens, and so she she kind of, takes the attention over to her, while Mary Beth kind of uses her tentacle finger to, like, get the cocaine stuff out of her pen so she can make it look like she's inhaling it, even though she's really not. So they kind of go along with that. They kind of show, like, yeah, this happened. Now, it does raise a couple of questions, like, when she and Zeke were alone in that room when he was stealing ingredients for his science lab at home, why didn't she just infect him then? Especially because they got a little close for a second there, and she just didn't do it. Like, what was the point of waiting? And also, like, how could she have not wanted to help out any of the other? Because, like, there's the teacher John Stewart, Mr. Furlong. I just love how John Stewart plays a biology teacher. There's, like, that guy who's, like, trying to attack them and infect them, and he's, like, totally alone in the room. And don't you think he'd be like, hey, Mary Beth, like, little help here? Or, like, wouldn't she want to help him or something? Like, I guess it works because she wants to see what the humans are gonna do in the situation or something like that. You could make it work, but it is a little plot holy. It's kind of like, well, why did she just let all this happen when she was right there the whole time? And they do that cool thing right before you know who she really is. They're interrogating the principal. They get the principal in the gym and they tie her up in the, like, volleyball net. I love how it's like all high school. It's like we're using chairs to block the door. We have a volleyball net. We're wrapping her up, and it's just like very like what they have on hand, which is really cool because it just feels like it's really students trying to deal with this problem. But anyway, she's the one who has like the big canister of all the drug stuff that Zeke makes, and she starts dumping it all on the principal. And for a little bit, you're like, well, that's kind of her character, right? She's like, the nice innocent girl who kind of just, is very sweet, but she's been shaken by this threat and scarred, and she's like, man, we need to deal with this, and she really wants to kill the alien, and so she starts dumping it all on the principal. And what you can realize later is that she was just trying to get rid of the stuff so they didn't have any more weaponry to kill the aliens with. So I like that detail of it. It works out pretty well. So again, the twist, the whole point I was trying to make, is this twist of Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson being the alien queen good? I'd say yes. It's pretty nice. So I like that part of the movie. I like just the whole movie is just so much fun. It's pretty well paced. Because you have a lot of in the beginning it's pretty well set up, like I was saying in the non-spoiler section. It's pretty well set up where you have each individual character, they each get their name thing, how it like freeze frames for half a second, it shows their name, and it has the daily life at the high school. It shows Stan trying to do better at class. It shows Casey and Delilah talking about yearbook stuff. It's just like kind of basic, and you get a good sense of where they are and what they do and how who they are affects what they do, if that makes sense. And it doesn't go on too long, especially because at the very beginning of the movie, you get that great sequence where they're at like the staff meeting at night, and the principal's like, no money for this, no money for this, no money for this, and they all just like so fed up with her, which is realistic and fair. And so at some point in that sequence, they kind of all separate, and the principal's the last one, the aunt from Jumanji, she's the last one in the school. And she starts getting, like, terrorized by the coach, which is, like, pretty good, the way they do that. It feels, like, very particularly, like, jarringly bad for her. She gets, a pencil stabbed through her hand, and they kind of show that in the movie. And again, that's where it's not super mega gory, but it's enough to be like, ooh, wow, this is a horror movie. As much fun as we're having watching it, it's still kind of scary. And so you have that good sequence, and again, it kind of doesn't make sense because when she eventually tries to make it out, there's the coach is over there, he's running at her, and there's the other woman, she's like an English teacher or something, she kind of has like the orange hair, and she's like, let me get help, and she's like, no, just wait right here with me, I'm gonna get out and everything. And so she eventually escapes, and she's with the teacher. The coach is locked in the school still, but then that teacher just kind of like grabs the scissors that she was using for defense and just kills the principal, thereby revealing that the teacher is also under control of the aliens. And it's like, well, why didn't she just, like, kill her already? Or if she was, already under control, why would she help the principal escape to outside of the building, only to kill her right there? Doesn't really make sense. And also, she stabs the heck out of her with that pencil. There's a lot of blood in that scene, and a lot of, like, violent death, but then, like, the next day the principal's, like, physical human body is perfectly operational and nice. It's kind of like, how did that happen? But it doesn't need to be explained for the sake of the movie. And I'm actually kind of glad they could have done something where it's like, oh, the aliens have super regenerative, like, abilities, and even if we cut off a finger, it's gonna grow back, or even if we stab them, it's gonna, heal up really quick. I'm glad they didn't didn't overdo that stuff and make it be like, some kind of we just can't touch the aliens and all we have is our drug thing. Yeah, all they have is the drug thing anyway, but see how they got to that point without all this, like, extra regenerative stuff. I would rather them spend time on the actual story part about it, which they did, so it works really well. What I mean is, like, when they kind of realize that Stokely, Clea Duvall's character, likes Invasion of the Body Snatchers and all these sci-fi, classic stories, and how Casey, Elijah Wood, goes to her and he's like, so Stokely, we need your help. Like, we have this situation. Like, does this sound familiar to you? Like, what do you think? And she's kind of going behind the theory of, like, well, what would happen if there really were aliens, attacking us? Or, like, why were these movies made about other aliens attacking? It's just, like, it's this cool stuff they do where they kind of reference some pop culture stuff, especially of the time. I think they reference Independence Day. Remember that movie with Will Smith and Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum? I think they reference that movie, so it's fun. I'm glad they do more of that rather than more of, like, this super scientific stuff to make it, just define, like, it's like expository dialogue that explains what's going on rather than just let's have fun with what's going on and, have our characters do cool stuff. So I like that aspect of it. It's a lot of fun. A lot of the things that happen earlier in the movie get referenced later or returned to. Kind of like when Miss Burke, she's the teacher who kind of, butts heads with Zeke a lot. She's the one who's kind of like, Zeke, like, you're repeating your senior year. Like, if you just she's like, if you put 5% of that intellect into your studies, you could kind of, get some good education. He just doesn't care at all, and he kind of is mean to her. And so they have, like, conversations earlier in the movie when, neither of them are aliens. And then later in the movie, they kind of have a reconnect where she's clearly under the control of the aliens. He's trying to stop it. And so they have a couple pieces of dialogue where they're kind of sassy next to each other. It's kind of like almost even funny. Like, it's worth a laugh because even the characters laugh a little bit at each other because it's like, I know you and you know me and we know that we already butt heads, but now I'm literally trying to kill you because I'm an alien. Or, well, take control of your body because I'm an alien. So it's fun. I like the way they do that. Also, the couple that's just fighting constantly. They show them 2 or 3 times in the movie. The girl's just beating on that guy, and he's like trying to, like, go right after her, and they're arguing. And then later in the movie, when it's trying to show everything's just totally weird, and everybody's an alien, they're like, getting along really well, and they have their arms around each other, and it's just like this. It's like, as the viewer, again, we're just thrown into this movie. We don't go to this school, but you can tell it's, like, totally weird what's going on. Like, they don't get along. They're the ones who fight, kind of thing. It's just awesome. And that reminds me of one of my favorite scenes. I mentioned I would say this in the non-spoiler section, but where Robert Patrick's character, the coach, is talking to Stan about how Stan doesn't want to play the football anymore. He'd want to, like, focus on his school and stuff like that. And he's like, okay, coach, like, I've thought a lot about this, and I don't want to play football anymore. I want to focus on my studies, kind of thing. And again, we've established that the coach is a hardcore guy, and he's been under the control of the aliens for a while. But he's like, well, there must be some kind of human reason why you're doing this. I'm not going to get in the way of the human condition. You do what you got to do. He's, like, totally, like, nice and kind, but, like, very monotone at the same time. And Stan's like, oh, well, thanks for not yelling at me, coach. Like, I was afraid you were going to, freak out at me. And the coach is like, what kind of human being would I be if I did that? I love that line, the way he delivers that. Like, Robert Patrick kills that scene because it's just, like, and he does that creepy smile, too, right? It's, like, it's really well acted, for sure. And it's such genuine humanity in a sense where we know there's no humanity left in him. And that's referenced at other points of the movie where Clea Duvall's characters, like, usually they have no emotion anymore or whatever. And Stan's like, the coach had emotion. It's like we don't know how to deal with this because he's not obviously evil or an alien. He's, like, just acting differently. And it's, like, freaking me out. I don't know how to handle that. It's just awesome. When you really break it down, there's a lot of good elements to this movie. Another good scene is where they like the viewer knows what's going on, and Casey and Delilah, so Elijah Wood and Jordana Brewster, they're, like, looking around in the staff room after school looking for, like, good dirt for, like, story for the yearbook or newspaper, the school newspaper, and they're, like, hiding in the closet when they hear people coming in, and then that dead body kind of falls right down next to them, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like, how scary. And so they escape. They end up escaping, and they come. Well, Elijah Wood comes back with his parents, and there's that whole sequence of, like, they're like, his dad's like, "What do you want, son? Like, are you on speed? What kind of drugs are you doing, or whatever?" And Elijah Wood's like, "I know what I saw. There's, like, that dead body in there. They attacked Nurse Harper, Selma Hayek, and they attacked her. There's aliens here. There's something going on." And he comes back with the police and his parents, and it's such a, like, intense scene. If you're like, okay, he's in some serious deep crap if he can't convince them that something's going on here, because his parents don't really believe him. They want to send him to a psychiatrist. His dad thinks he's on drugs or whatever. I do kind of like that line where after Elijah Wood runs away from the coach, and the coach is like, hey, that was some good speed you had down the hall, son. And his dad's like, hear that, Casey? He says he got speed. It's like a fun little, like, you're totally on drugs, right? I just like the way they deliver that line. And so, then they got the scene where the parents are waiting in the office, the main office of the school or whatever. The cop goes in the privater office with the principal and like, let's call and see what's going on. And you hear like the door rumble a little bit and like a little noise, and they're kind of like, wait, what is that? And then they just come out all like, like nothing happened at all. And the cop's like, he smiles at Casey, and Casey's like, they got him. Like, now the cops are or at least that cop has been infected or alienated or whatever, and so that means there's going to be more and stuff like that. It's just this awesome sense of impending doom, and that things are getting too out of hand too quickly, and we really need to do something about it. There's that good line where he says, it took the high school in a day and a half, like you'd give it a week and you'd never outrun it, and it seems pretty accurate. So I like that part about it. And also at the end of that same scene, when he's sitting in the principal's office, or the main school office, and he looks out the window and the sprinklers are on, and they establish pretty early on that the aliens love water, which is fine. And they show how, the coach is just standing there in the sprinklers, and it just like zooms in on him for a couple seconds, and he's kind of like, he's trying to listen to his mom or something like that, but he's like looking over there like, what exactly is this? Or something is going on. Like, for him and the viewer, we know that something is going on. It's horrible, but they're so oblivious as parents, and whoever else isn't already infected, and it's like very distracting, because he's like, the principal's talking to him, but he's trying to focus on this, and the way they kind of use the camera to pull it back and forth a little bit and zoom in on what's really important, it's pretty good. Again, it's not completely masterful. It's almost a little bit awkward how they like zoom in a couple times within the same frame, but it just works. I think this movie works very well, and I hope that people who haven't seen it yet are going to start watching it a little bit more, because it deserves some credit. It's pretty fun. And again, you have all these great actors. When I don't know music at all. Like, I don't do music. I don't know music. I know nothing about anything popular. And so I was showing this movie to some friends one time, and then they were like, wait, that's Usher. Usher's in this movie. And I was like, is that a crazy thing? I'm like, yes! It's weird. Like, why is he in this movie? So it's fun for some people, funner for other people when they realize who these actors are. I mean, Jon Stewart, pretty much everyone knows who that guy is, and just like watching him play a biology teacher who gets like, taken over by an alien and trying to attack students or he doesn't attack with the blade, because like the paper cutter blade they attack him with. It's awesome. Another thing that just doesn't make perfect sense is after they do defeat Jon Stewart's character, the biology teacher, they stab him in the eye with the cocaine drug pen, his body dries out, which is kind of weird because later in the credits it kind of shows a lot of the characters again and how they are afterward, and he's like back to health. He has like an eye patch on, but like his body survived that. Like, wow. He lost his fingers too. They cut his fingers off. Anyway, so they're kind of walking through the school. They're like, we need to get out of here. They know that at this point the aliens have literally attacked them. They've seen alien slug things like the Yerks from Animorphs. We need to get out right now. So they're kind of sneaking through the school, like trying to act casual, because they're like, they don't want to make a scene and make people realize, like, yeah, we still need to be infected because we're still human or whatever. And so they kind of cut past a couple of classrooms, and at least in one of the classrooms, it's like you see a teacher with like a textbook or something, and all the students are there, and they're all raising their hands like to answer a question. And it's like, hold on. I get that it's like trying to be stylistic and show that, like, yeah, this school has changed. Like, usually we have students who don't care at all, and now they all care. They're all united or something like that. And like, that's fair for the style of the movie. Like, it's okay, but trust me, if every student, I would know this, if every student in a classroom is raising their hand to say something, aliens would be involved, because that never happens, especially in this country. But like, why would there be a classroom of just alien infected people in a classroom? Why would they be wasting their time in class talking about whatever they're talking about instead of like, furthering their campaign of human takeover? Like, it doesn't really make sense why they would do that, even if it works for the style. So there's a couple things where it's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but if you just kind of brush those off and say it doesn't have to make sense, then you can really enjoy the movie. Is there anything else? I wanted to say one other thing that came to mind. Talked about that great scene with the coach. Talked about the office scene. What's left? Oh, I like this. I like this part, and I'll try to stop after this because I don't want this to go too long. But I like the scenes where you're near the end of the movie. You know, you have your 6 students they went to the football game or whatever. The football game's crazy, by the way. Don't they even have signs in the stands that say, like, kill or whatever? And they're just, like, beating the crap out of each other on the football field and, like, slamming people down or, like, clotheslining them to the point of, like, they just flip around. It's totally crazy. And you think that the refs would be like, hold on, guys, this isn't, like, the WWF. I don't know. Anyway, so you have those scenes where they're at the football game or at the football field, or they're back in the school. The school is closed or whatever, and it's like the final attack. It's like we have our supply of our drug dust stuff, and our few pens to take care of, like, a few people, and we have our gun, because Zeke has his gun. Let's finish this all off. And so eventually they have to split up a little bit, where Stan's like, I'm gonna go check it out and see if the coach, if everyone's back to normal, or if the coach really is the one. And so he goes out to the football field, and then, you see all the aliens are still there, and like, oh crap, Stan's like, he's doomed. There's no way he's gonna get out of that one. And so he comes back, and he's like, the coach is really fast, like, I gotta, let me back in really quick. He, like, plays it up really well, both in acting and in character. He's like, I have to get back in right now. Let me back in. The coach is right after me. And there's, like, nobody after him. And they're kind of like, well, prove that you're human still. They have that scene where they say, you use the drug that we gave you. And he's like, I lost it. And, like, it all kind of adds up. And it's, like, very suspicious. And so they, like, give him the last one or whatever. And he's about to, take it and prove he's human. But then he dumps it out. And it's like, oh, dang. So for one thing, it's a cool scene where it's good acting and stuff. But then Stokely, who's kind of professed her love for him, is kind of like in shock, and she's terrified, and she's like starting to cry because she's looking at him through the window where he can't get in, and he's like, open the door, it's so much better. There's no choices, there's no pain, there's no anything. It's just free, easy life or whatever. And it's kind of creepy when you really think about it, because it's like, do you want your life to be easier? Do you want to not have to make choices? Do you want to be equal like everybody else? Do you not want to have to be judged? It's like there's kind of some obviously not clear benefits, but just like, the way he portrays for a second there being controlled by aliens and trying to convince somebody else that that's the way to go. It's kind of interesting the way they do it, and it kind of makes the viewer be like, wow, there's no pressure, there's no judgments, there's no being made fun of. Everyone's the same and equal, and it's okay. It's a nice society or whatever. It's kind of cool. And so I just like those details. It's pretty well written. It has some good stuff like that. I don't think the movie gets too cheesy at any point. It has some stereotypes, but it works for what it is. I like The Faculty quite a bit, and if you've seen this far in the video, hopefully you've seen the movie too, and you're not spoiling it for yourself, and you like it as well. If you want me to address something that I haven't addressed yet, if you want me to address something further, or if I got something totally wrong, please let me know. Say something, make some comments, send some messages, send some emails to contactjustafan@gmail.com. I will see those things, and I will try to respond, and kind of get some good discussion for The Faculty. Because it's just fun. It's a fun movie, and I wish that more people had seen it, and I wish I wasn't like the only one talking about it, because I would love to see what my favorite movie reviewers think about it. I'm sure there's someone out there who thinks it's a terrible movie because of X, Y, and Z, and it's fair. There's some problems with it, but it really is, for me, it's exactly what I want out of a, non-animorphs, aliens are taking over the high school movie type of thing. So, it's good. Make those comments, send those messages, send those emails, ask those questions, ask me to do something else about the movie or address it, whatever you got out there, I'm ready for it. So that's my review for, a recommendation and review for The Faculty 1998, and we'll be back at another time for our next installment. And again, if you want to see what the remaining options are for what we're going to review, I'll put the list in this description as well as the link to the previous video, and we'll just keep on going. Thanks very much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a nice day. Have a nice aliens are taking over your parents, the police, and the faculty at your high school day.